Hello and welcome back to the Villa Filler podcast. As you can see today, I'm riding solo. No Dan Wiseman. Dan is just extremely busy. Send all your love to Dan in the comments. Dan Wiseman for Prime Minister. I want to see that in the comments right now. I know Dan would really appreciate that. But I'm here today, I guess just to talk a little bit mainly about the Chelsea game, as obviously we haven't really covered that in a podcast just yet. And in general, talk about the year as a whole. This is again something that I think is important, as you know we've not got any games now. The Leeds game's been cancelled. Our next Premier League game is against Brentford, so we've got some time to reflect as we come into the new year. And I think ultimately that's what we need to do, because it's been a pretty mental year, not only to be a Villa fan, but just in general. 2021 has been absolutely crazy. So we'll get into that, all of that today. But first, a word from a sponsor for the first time on the channel. So yeah, see you on the other side. Dan, have you ever wanted an app that collates all the scores and news from your favourite teams in the whole of Europe, Dan? Have you ever wanted that?
Is a constant need of mine, mate, because there's always news. That's the thing, is that we love this game. We love the industry of football because it's ever changing, mate, and you need a place to keep up with it all.
And we have that place exactly for you
sure
guys. It's One Football. Guys, this app is genuinely, it's life-changing.
It's great because I actually I use it. So it's great because it's where I pull the stats from for the podcast. So it's like there's all that new stuff as well, but you can track all of the players' stats from like across Europe for all the different leagues, for continental football as well. It's a dream. It's a dream. And the best part, mate, is it's free.
It's free, and guys, it would help support the channel massively if you check that One Football using the link in the description down below. We promise you guys won't be disappointed. Yeah, if you guys haven't checked out One Football, make sure you do and use the link in the description to make sure you help us, you're helping the channel, so we're fully transparent with that. But yeah, it would mean the world. The first, as I say, sponsor on the channel. It's pretty mad as well. Before we go into it, just to address another elephant in the room. Obviously, you're seeing me not in the best quality right now. I'm at home for Christmas with my family, and my dumbass forgot like one cable that I needed to link my camera up. So unfortunately, we've got webcam quality. I've got the mic with me. But yeah, just to address that. And also, before we do get into the heavy stuff, guys, we're about 110 subscribers away from 5,000 subscribers. Now, I know 2021 is ending soon, but it was our end of year goal to try and reach 5,000 subscribers. I know there's about 48% of you guys who watch these podcasts on YouTube that aren't subscribed. So it'd mean the world if you could subscribe and hit the bell. If you do, we're giving away a Villa shirt, a home shirt, and an away shirt for you guys. So make sure you get involved by hitting the subscribe button and really helping us smash our goal. It'd be really, truly appreciated. Now, on to Chelsea. Now, again, I think Dan and I constantly have this discussion when it comes around to these kind of games against the Big Six. And in some respects, I agree with what Dan has to say in that them being a free hit, especially at the moment. But seeing how Villa started this game and approached the game against Chelsea, it was quite a positive first half. And I think we've seen Villa make a very good account of ourselves for periods against the likes of Man City, against Liverpool, and again against Chelsea. So, for me, these kind of games, they're not a write-off. I think, they're nice to kind of see where Villa are actually at, where the benchmark is. Obviously, we're early on in the Steven Gerrard days, and that is, of course, something you have to consider. So by no means am I looking at this 3-1 loss and it's doom and gloom, because it's Chelsea, the champions of Europe. We've already played them 3 times this season, and let's be honest, I think on every occasion Villa have deserved something a little bit more than we've actually got from that game. And again, especially from the first half, which I think Villa played their better football in. I think one thing that has to be considered is first of all what Villa do and look like out of possession, and that's something that we'll get into just a little bit later on, because I think that's how the game sort of changed a little bit in the second half. But to begin with, and it's almost to be expected with Chelsea, they're not really going to dominate the ball for large periods in a game. More often than not, they do sit behind the ball with their sort of back 3, back 5 as it is out of possession, and are happy to sit there and soak up the pressure and hit on the counter attack. So naturally, Villa had a lot of possession, and almost, I think, has been historically a problem with Villa against the top sides. When Villa have possession, they don't really know what to do with it. However, Villa created plenty of chances in my mind, and we looked really good on the ball. without John McGinn, which is something to consider as well. Villa looked really effective in the first half, and obviously the goal comes from some really nice play from the flanks. And again, he's a player who I think we've all been guilty of criticising. Matty Targett, of course, it's an own goal, but I think, and don't get me wrong here, guys, I think the fullbacks are brilliant. I love the Matties. I absolutely adore them. But, Matty Cash can't cross a ball to save his life. And I think that's where Targett kind of edges it for me, because, I mean, of course, it's an own goal, but the delivery that Targett put in ultimately led to Villa scoring a goal. And we've not really seen that from Cash. And that's an aspect of Cash's game that, I really hope that he can improve on quickly, because he has pretty much every other attribute to be a fantastic fullback. And I think as well, we do have to remember this is only his, he's coming into his third season playing fullback, and he's 24 years old, which is crazy. He's in at Forest and play on the wings and sort of central midfield positions as well. He only started playing right back the season before he joined us. So in some respects, I think we can cut him some slack, but as a winger, you have to be able to cross the ball. So it was great to see, obviously, that Tiggs had that kind of edge, and when the ball did, get put into the box, Reece James, of course, unfortunately headed it in for Chelsea. And what really encouraged me after that as well is Villa did continue to go for it. Villa did. They attacked the game, and there was a few chances that Danny Ings had, where I think I hope he can do better. But Villa were effective on the flanks, which is an important position for Chelsea, considering how good the likes of Reece James is at wing back. He's phenomenal, genuinely. For a second, just to go on a tangent, England's best wing back, full back, however you want to frame and position it. For me, he's above Trent because he can defend and he can go forward. But on Danny Ings, now this was really interesting because Watkins and Ings started again. And as listeners of the channel would know, I am hell-bent on Ollie Watkins playing on the left. I think it is a position that he can absolutely make his own. We know he's played there before and he has all the attributes to succeed. The only thing he's lacking is the selfishness, which makes him a good striker. Now, listen, Danny Ings and Ollie Watkins are two phenomenal forwards. They genuinely are. And, for the first time in a long time, they'll find themselves in a position whereby we have two fantastic forwards, and it almost seems harsh to leave any of them out. But for me, and I think I am in the minority here, judging by what you guys are saying on Twitter and in the comments. And please let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on the sort of Ings and Watkins debate. It looks like I'm going to have to kind of try and put to bed this whole Ollie on the left thing, because Ollie Watkins doesn't want to play there, and you can't argue with a man in form. He's been scoring goals for Villa this season. He's had arguably a better time than Danny Ings has had so far. But Danny Ings is the superior striker. He's consistently outperformed his XG while he's been in the Premier League. He's scored nearly 60 goals in the Premier League in over 100 appearances. He's worked in striking partnerships with many different players. So I don't think that this sort of Ings and Watkins issue stems from Danny Ings. It's coming from Ollie Watkins. And I almost find that infuriating. And I'm sure you guys have noticed this during games. Danny Ings is the first player to look to bring anyone else into the game. Ollie Watkins will never return that favour with Danny Ings. And it's starting to become a bit of a problem for me. And I absolutely adore Ollie Watkins, just so as we're fully clear, guys. Ollie Watkins, wow, he's genuinely, he is some player. But I find it increasingly annoying that we can't accommodate the two, because you almost then have to question why you signed Danny Ings. And that in itself is almost a stupid thing to question, because when a striker of his calibre and quality comes on the market for as little as £30 million, you have to pounce on that. You have to. There is no club in Europe, nay, the world, would have turned their noses up at Danny Ings for £30 million. And as I've said, for me, Danny is the superior striker right now. I just don't think he's having a great time. I think he's making intelligent runs. I just don't think he's had the time on the pitch necessarily to really sort of understand the kind of balls that, the likes of Emi Buendia or Dougie or whoever is looking to supply him with. which is a shame because it's one of them ones, as I say, you can't argue with form. So Ollie Watkins has to be the man who leads the line for Aston Villa as the main solo striker. But then Danny Ings is always going to be coming in kind of on the back foot because he's not got that sort of match sharpness, or the sort of the confidence in himself to get the shot away at the final minute, which I think is something that he's lacking at the moment due to not playing. So it's a catch-22 situation, which is incredibly frustrating to be in because I mean, I have maintained for the longest time, I think Ollie can play on the left, if you want to call it that, with Danny Ings up front, and it would work. But Ollie's attitude is seriously telling me otherwise, and it's a bit of a difficult predicament for Steven Gerrard and his staff to find himself in, especially as you know, Danny Ings has played with Steven Gerrard. I'm sure is a good friend of his. So of course, you know, this is where you kind of see this is where Gerrard makes his money, is making these kind of decisions, whatever is best for the football club. But it does seem as if, you know, Ollie Watkins is the one that has to lead the line. And honestly, in my opinion, this is gone to a bit of a rant, but I think Danny Ings deserves better. That is all I have to say on that. Otherwise, it almost felt like a cheat code than being able to bring on Lukaku. And he, you know, I think there's this misconception with Lukaku that he's this centre forward that bullies centre halves, and he stays central, and it's going to be 90 minutes of just torrid grappling and wrestling for centre halves with Romelu Lukaku. Because I think, you know, having watched Lukaku for Inter Milan, Lukaku played on the right, like, you know, again, this idea, he's not a winger, but he's a right-sided forward player, like in the same vein as Mo Salah, and generally looks to isolate the fullbacks. And, you know, we saw that perfectly with the build-up to the penalty. Lukaku is peeling right onto Matty Target. And that's where I think he, as a player, Lukaku gets much more enjoyment, because whilst Lukaku could certainly have gone shoulder to shoulder with Ezri and Tyrone for the 45 minutes he was on the pitch, or any Premier League defenders for that matter, and certainly come out on top, he's going to have a better time bullying Matt Target, who, let's be honest, is a man trapped in a boy's body. And there was some criticisms from Target for not taking him out, and I think it's a bit of a difficult one. But, you know, the one thing I will say is Romelu Lukaku's probably about 20 stone, and Matt Target is almost certainly under 10 stone. So seeing Lukaku just fling him off as easily as he did comes as no surprise to me. I think, you know, there's also been some calls that Target should have brought him down, and I think, first of all, it would have had to have been a hell of a tackle considering how far behind he was. Another thing you have to consider, I know Ezri was almost on the recovery, but I can't help but feel like Atkinson gives a red card in that situation, despite, I mean, we saw how poor the refereeing performance was. I mean, I feel like I don't need to say anything on the offside decision that was ruled in favour of Chelsea for us. But, you know, and I think this tweet has come under a bit of stick. I know Joe, who listens to the podcast, shout out to Joe, certainly disagreed with my thinking, but I didn't really have a problem with Ezri bringing Lukaku down at that point. He, you know, Lukaku is one of these players whereby he's very fast, but off the mark he's not, and he'd already got going, and he's with the momentum. Lukaku's only getting faster. Ezri wasn't going to be able to catch him and jockey him and kind of try and force that shot to the near post, which I think Emi would have obviously had covered. But we've seen Lukaku so many times in them situations stick that at the back post and absolutely bury it, despite how low the XG for that shot would be, by the way. You guys know I love XG, but I had a feeling, and I maintain that if Ez doesn't dive in, then Lukaku scores at the back post. That's just how I feel about it. So I didn't really have much to say about the penalty decision. You know, as a defender myself, obviously not at the caliber of Ezri Konsa. At that point, when you're already losing, it's so late on in the game. It's Romelu Lukaku. He's been running as ragged. The only thing I'd be bothered about is stopping him and hurting him. And I think that's what Ezri tried to do. There's no way he gets back on the recovery. So, you know, that situation isn't ideal, especially when they have a penalty taker like Jorginho. I know it almost sounds like I'm contradicting myself, but it's a lose-lose. I'm not necessarily disappointed with how Ezri conducted himself in that situation. Because, I think with a penalties are almost definitely down to luck. I think, you can prepare, you can do your research, you can know where they're going. There's, of course, a big psychological aspect, which I think Emmy's really good at. And we've seen that in Copa America with the Bruno penalty, with things like that. But Jorginho is the best penalty taker in the world. And had already scored one as well. So, there's also the psychology playing on Emmy's mind as well. But no, I didn't really have a problem with that. And I think, also to speak about XG, because it'd be rude not to, considering how much I love it. 0.40 for Aston Villa and 2.79 for Chelsea. Ultimately, deserved winners. Villa, I think the problem was at half-time, Chelsea changed a few things around. They brought off Chalobah, who Ollie Watkins was having the better of, undoubtedly. And, they put Reece James in that sort of right centre-back role to tighten things up a little bit. And ultimately, they were just a lot more aggressive, and Villa were sort of happy to sit off and sort of let Chelsea do what they did. Extremely disappointing not seeing Ty manage to get off the floor for the Lukaku goal as well. But it's one of them things. Obviously, he's suspended, so I'd imagine we see Courtney being a left-sided player against Brentford. And actually, this is the Courtney Villa podcast. You guys should know by now. I think he deals with the threat of Ivan Toney very well. I think, we've seen him look to play them long balls over the top. And especially while Josh De Silva's been out injured, that's really been Brentford's only tactic. And for me, there's no better header of the ball at the club than Courtney Hause when you're looking at these sort of defensive situations. So, it's hardly an ideal situation, but I think Courtney will fill in just fine. And yeah, I mean, it's not the best way Villa could have ended the year. And especially when you think, at the start of the year, we had such a torrid run with the absences of Jack Grealish and Ross Barkley at the time. I think we went in 14 games without winning from some point in December to February, didn't we? And things were looking, they were looking quite grim for the Villa. And a lot of things have changed, obviously, with Dino losing his job, and it's kind of sad to see him take that Norwich side. I mean, Norwich are, at the time of recording, I think Norwich was just about to kick off, actually. It's one of them ones. I think, they'll be fine in the Championship next season with Dean in charge. But, there's been such massive changes. We've gone from being this almost one-man team to now I look at Aston Villa, and even without Steven Gerrard the other day to sort of organise the boys, of course, things would have been done through Zoom. Everybody knew what they had to do. Everybody knew the roles. It was executed, to a very good level for large portions of the game. And ultimately, I think that's the big thing. That's been the biggest change, is the organisational, responsibilities of the players. That since Steven Gerrard's come in, it's been phenomenal. I couldn't have told you what any of the players' roles were under Dean. And as much as we love Dean out here on this channel, things have changed massively. So, we've had the ups and downs of Jack leaving, of Dean being sacked. But, players like Leon Bailey have given us fantastic moments against Everton. Stevie G coming to the club has really sort of re-energised the project. And hopefully we've got a lot of momentum to go into the next year, which is, for me, really exciting. I think 2022 is going to be an interesting year. We're really going to see what is made of this squad, because at the moment we're kind of languishing in that mid-table, which ultimately means our season, our destiny lies within us. We can go on a fantastic run and really try and push for European places, or, things may regress. It's in the hands of the coaches and the players at the club, but I'm genuinely very excited to see what happens. So yeah, if you guys are excited as well for the new year, for Brentford away, be sure to let us know by hitting a like and comment your thoughts below. Let us know your thoughts on the year, because it's been pretty crazy. Also, just on a personal note, you guys have been, fantastic this year. It's been another great year for the channel. As I say, if you guys could help us reach that 5,000 subscriber goal before the end of the year, I'd be truly, truly grateful. I know Dan would appreciate it as well, because we've got some stuff to give away for you guys. And yeah, it would just be the perfect end to the year for the two of us. So send some love for Dan in the comments, #Wiseman for Prime Minister. We see you, Joe. And yeah, make sure you subscribe for more content. Up the Villa.